We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man.
Keep on.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, joining you in afternoon drive time. Yes, we are having a lovely day here in the Bay Area where I'm located at the moment. And it's going to be a lovely weekend here across the Golden State. And just the kind of beginning to a very special Memorial Day weekend. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the socials at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and I pop right on up fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app. That way you can take us with you everywhere you go. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast powered by KBLA Talk 1580. That way you get to catch some of our most memorable episodes. There's always something to remember in every episode, but there's some conversations that just kind of stay with you. And so if you want to tap into that, go ahead and subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. All right. Now, listen, it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, I was just talking about Memorial Day weekend, which means for some people road trips, which means for some people gasoline, which may be a reminder of one of the biggest headlines around the world, around the oil markets, Iran, and more. And so let me just say that the head of the International Energy Agency, they're issuing a stark warning today. They're saying that oil markets may be heading into what they call the red zone by July or August. Since the U.S. and Israeli-led strikes against Iran began on February 28th, shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is virtually halted. The strait, through which roughly 20% of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas normally passes, it's effectively closed. More than 14 million barrels per day of oil supply have been removed from global markets, and the IEA is called the largest oil supply crisis in history. That's what they're calling this. Brent crude is currently trading around $108 a barrel, down from wartime highs of $126, but still dramatically above the $70 per barrel level before the war started. So for all people out there saying, well, gas in California was already high. Yes, gas in California is higher than a lot of other states because of our environmental standards here in California, right? But set that aside. We're currently at least $1.50 above that. And so the IEA has been releasing strategic reserves at a rate of 2.5 to 3 million barrels per day. But there are warnings that those reserves are not endless, and the initial 400 million barrels released will run out by August. The single most important solution is a full and unconditional reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. The biggest pain will be felt in developing Asia and Africa. And they're worried about the global food security because of these energy issues. And so, look, the situation that will affect gas prices, that's just the beginning of this. Heating costs, airline tickets, and the broader cost of living for Americans heading into the summer. Hold your hat, get ready. In other news, did y'all hear about this Ebola-related flight diversion to Canada? A pretty jarring moment in international travel. A Detroit-bound flight was diverted to Canada after it was discovered that a passenger from the Democratic Republic of Congo had boarded the plane in error amid the ongoing Ebola outbreak. Can you imagine that? According to NBC News, the passenger should not have been cleared to travel, and public health officials in the U.S. and Canada are working to contact and monitor other passengers on the flight. The situation is under investigation. It's a developing story. We'll continue to bring it to you when we can. But before we get to our guest, let me just say that Lionsgate announced today on a quarterly earnings call that Michael, the record-breaking biopic about the king of pop, is already in active development for a sequel. Lionsgate film chief Adam Fogelson said, and I quote, "We're really excited about the progress we're making with respect to a second Michael film." The first film, of course, has grossed more than $700 million at the global box office since April 24th. It opened with a $97 million domestic opening that first weekend, which is a record. And the film, it ends in 1988 mid-story with the words, "His story will continue." And so they're making good on that. The man who helped bring this film to life, KeiLyn Durrel Jones, is he's with us. You don't want to miss this conversation when we come forward. And a little bit later, you'll hear a very special conversation between Tavis Smiley and Representative Jim Clyburn. He had a lot to say about voting rights and the reaction from the civil rights community with regard to voting rights. He had a lot to say about some key races here in California and beyond, and also where we go from here. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
You have your vote by mail ballot. Now it's time to vote. Drop it off early at any official ballot drop box. Visit plan.lavote.gov to learn more. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
Pool days call for cookouts and lots of laundry. This Memorial Day at Lowe's, save $80 on a Charbroil Performance Series 4-burner gas grill. Now just $199. Plus, get up to 45% off select major appliances to keep dishes, clothes, and food fresh. Having fun in the sun is easy with us in your corner. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 5/27. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. See associate or Lowe's.com for details.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests as we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really excited to be talking to someone who played one of the most moving roles in the Michael biopic. We're talking to KeiLyn Durrel Jones. He is an NYU Tisch School of the Arts grad. He's theater trained, and he's been honing his craft for the past decade for a role just like this. You might remember him from Succession, How to Die Alone, Better Call Saul. Well, he's playing the role of Bill Bray, a former LAPD officer who served as Michael Jackson's head of security from 1971 to 1996, becoming a surrogate father and confidant, a man who loved Michael, not for the superstar, but for the boy underneath it all. KeiLyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Quartey. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, pleasure to have you. First things first, when did you fall in love with Michael Jackson, and what's your first Michael memory?
You know, it's a great question. I don't remember the exact moment. I've always loved, I was born in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. So I was born into like just post-Thriller, pre-Bad, you know, that era. Dangerous was my Michael. That was the Michael that I was like when I was old enough to pick my own music. It was one of the first albums that I bought with my own money type thing. And the one of my first Michael memories, I gotta say, is probably the Jackson 5 Christmas album. I love that whole, like all the Motown Christmas music, but especially the Jackson 5. And that's sort of what made me fall in love with acting, was like other kids singing at a high level. So knowing that he was a kid singing like that, or watching kids on TV, whatever. So that's sort of what made me fall in love with acting or whatever. But what made me fall in love with Michael was, I saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, or, you know, Frosty the Snowman, whatever it was.
I've got to agree that no Christmas felt like Christmas unless you had that Jackson 5 Christmas album playing. The Jackson 5 and the Temptations were a must.
That's it. That's
in my household. But you know, look, you know, you were really great in this film. I think
thank you, sir.
You honing your craft on the stage. I think it really showed, particularly in those quiet moments, those tender moments that we saw on the screen. And it wasn't just you. I mean, there's an abundance of talent in this movie.
Yeah.
Antoine Fuqua, the director, Coleman Domingo playing Joe Jackson, Nia Long playing Catherine Jackson. That's a pretty serious table to sit at. Talk to us about what the vibe was like on set.
You know, I came in a little late. It felt like I was the new kid on the block because they had already been filming for a while when I showed up. But also, I realized later that everyone sort of felt like that. I've heard Kendrick Sampson say something similar. Like on his first day, he hadn't even read the script yet. Speaking of another talent, I mean, he was Quincy, you know what I mean? And Lorenz as Barry Gordy, Miles as John. Like you said, everybody showed up and did their big one, not to mention the hair and makeup team, you know what I mean? And the wardrobe. But it was truly a dream come true, just like us in the macro, working with the likes of Graham King, who did Bohemian Rhapsody and whatever else, and Antoine Fuqua. I've been a huge fan of his since even before Training Day. He did a movie called King Arthur, and I just was blown away. It was a dream come true. And then to boot, having Nia Long, Lorenz Tate, people I've been watching since I was a kid, you know what I mean? Like truly a dream come true. And then the cherry on top was telling this story of one of the most iconic entertainers to ever walk the earth, and being a part of his life and legacy, and having my career and my legacy tied inextricably to his. I still wake up, you know, the movie's been out dang on near a month, and I pinch myself every day. It's incredible.
It is incredible to watch. It's incredible to experience. Now let's talk about Bill Bray, who is the sort of unsung protector. I think Bill Bray resonates pretty deeply, particularly with Black audiences who understand what it means to be the person that's holding someone up, holding someone down behind the scenes. Most people have seen Bill Bray in photos their whole lives and never knew his name. What was it like stepping into the shoes of a man that close to a legend without pulling focus from the legend?
Yeah, that's a great point, man. I'm one of those people. I've seen, when I started doing my research on Bill, every picture that I had come across were pictures that I'd seen. thousands of times, on the internet or whatever. But when you're looking at a picture of Michael Jackson, you're looking at a picture of Michael Jackson. So now I'm looking for, it's like, where's Waldo? Like, where's Bill? You know what I mean? And he's always there. There's one or two of them that I've seen at award shows, and he's there, but he's sort of in the shadows, like you said, literally and figuratively, just off stage in the shadows. And so I think it was perfect for me at this point in my life, in my career. You know what I mean? And the way I like to approach acting is whatever I need to do to serve the project writ large. How can I support as with my skill set and my talent, and how can I just be sort of columnal and support this whole thing, whether it's a leading character or not, you know what I mean? And truthfully show up and tell the truth of the world and the story that I'm telling, but also whatever my character may be feeling or going through with relation to whoever may be in the spotlight. So there's no need to pull focus if I'm there to support the project writ large. I think that's selfish and is not serving. If our job is to tell a story, I want to tell the story as best as possible. And I think I just tried to honor the rapport and the relationship that these two men had.
Speaking of the honor and the rapport of this relationship, we know that Bill wasn't just a bodyguard. He was described as a safe haven for Michael Jackson. Talk to us about that relationship. What does it mean to be someone's safe place? And how is playing this character, how has it changed the way that you show up for your friends and your family off screen, off stage, as a safe place?
Well, I think it's necessary. I've been very fortunate my whole life. My dad was a single dad, and I've got older brothers. I'm in a fraternity. Shout out to Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So a lot of those guys are mentors and friends of mine. And I've had other mentors and coaches, and even women especially. But, as a man and telling the story of these two men, I try to focus on that avuncular, masculine, paternal energy. And I'm not a father myself, but I've been an uncle for 20, 30 years at least. And I've been a part of big brother, little brother programs, and then my younger fraternity brothers who look up to me and things like this. And so I really just tried to tap into this energy that I've been a party to my whole life. And really truthfully, the more that we worked on this movie, the more I would meet people who knew these two men and said that they were always together and they were always playful and they were always playing jokes on each other and just laughing and giggling. And to think about the icon that is Michael, right? This global icon, but he also, we know just from the lore that he was also a very lonely man. So for him to be that joyful and that kid-like and giddy with this man means that he had to really trust him. And so I just tried to embody the energy of someone who loved and cared for, someone who just happened to be a global icon, but needed love and support and protection and a place where he could just sort of be himself. And I just tried to cultivate that energy as best that I could. I try to do that in my life. I try to support my friends. I'm someone who feels like two of my mantras, if you're not learning, you're losing, and dream big or why bother. So I try to cultivate that in myself because you can't pour into someone from an empty cup, right? So I tried to cultivate that in myself so that I can pour into other people, friends, cousins. We got a lot of cousins, people that ain't cousins, whatever it is. And so, it's something that I've always tried to do, but now seeing how much love Bill Bray is getting on the internet or wherever, whether it includes me or not, it just also makes me want to do it more. You know what I mean? It's cyclical. So it's very rewarding.
I mean, your cup runneth over in this film, Michael, the biopic. We're encouraging folks, if they haven't already, to treat yourself, don't cheat yourself, especially
Amen.
this Memorial Day weekend. Run, don't walk to go see this film. I was reading somewhere that, Bill was the kind of Black man who understood that protecting someone sometimes means giving them room to breathe. I actually happen to be friends with members of the family of the real life Bill. Right?
Oh, wow. I love that.
And it was interesting to hear some of the behind the scenes about who he was as a person and how protective he has continued to be about his relationship with Michael. There's something very specific about a Black man in a protective role, not as muscle, but as love. How do you think about that dimension of Bill?
I love that, man. That's beautiful. I hope that they at least appreciated what I brought to the table as far as creating Bill. But to your point, I think that masculinity and that sort of masculine love includes a softness and a tenderness. You have to hold space. You know what I mean? Like, yes, not all masculinity is toxic masculinity, and I think Bill, it's something that I try to practice in my life, and so it was I'm not going to say easy, but simple for me to sort of employ that on screen as well, because I think that's important. It's the kind of love that I've gotten. I don't just shake my friends' hands. I hug them and I tell them I love them and things like this. And I think that part of masculinity is just as important as the rest of it. And to your point, I love that scene where Bill and Michael are on the side of the mountain on the car, because Bill's just kind of listening. I mean, he speaks up eventually, but he's just holding space for the man who did Thriller to cry or to complain, to, be and moan about his dad or whatever the case may be. And then, drops a little advice on him. Think about it. I'm not telling you what to do, but this is what it is, and I think that's important and quite lovely. Yeah.
I think so too. Let's now talk about this gigantic film that has now grossed over $500 million.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in this movie industry,
right?
In this environment, this movie, has already, earned back what it took to make it, and there's already talk of a sequel. For our audience, Michael Jackson means a lot, and for some people, he means everything to them because he's childhood, he's Saturday mornings, he's Christmas time, he's prom night, he's transformation. What do you hope that this film gives them that they haven't had before?
So much nostalgia, joy, inspiration. These are the things that it gives me. I've seen the movie upwards of 9, 10, 11 times, and I look forward to seeing it every time that I do. And I walk out, man, especially that carnival scene, the human nature, like, it's just so uplifting and joyful. It's a blockbuster movie, first of all, which is nostalgic in and of itself. But it's like you said, it's everything. It's Michael Jackson. And so I think, yeah, those three things: nostalgia, joy, and inspiration.
I think those are great. Those are great things for us to carry. Look, my mom remembers seeing little Michael Jackson perform with the Jackson 5 when she was a kid. We were talking a little bit about this before you joined me. This film spans the Jackson 5 era all the way through his solo rise. And I'm just wondering, for the grandmothers and the grandfathers like my mom, who were in the audience, who lived that Motown moment, what do you want them to see in this film?
I want them to see I think I'm gonna go back to nostalgia, like, because that holds a special place. I can only imagine for them, right? Having lived through it and then experiencing it now. And then I'm sure your mother had a part in introducing you to Michael Jackson. So then it might make her think of you as a little boy and raising, you know what I mean? Whatever. So it's just legacy and family and I mean, it transcends this, but it's Black community and all of this other stuff. And it's so much that is important to us, and especially in the world today. We could all use a little bit more joy and entertainment and things like this. So I think all of the above. More nostalgia, more joy, more entertainment and inspiration. I keep saying inspiration because I am so inspired by the movie itself, just as an artist, especially, but as a man. Every time I watch it, I walk out like believing in myself a little more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we all did. And speaking of legacy, I love your character so much because I think Bill provides us with an opening for a very important conversation. As you know, Black families have always had a Bill Bray. They've always had a Bill Bray. They've always had that uncle, that neighbor, that coach who was just steady. When everything else around them was chaos, they were steady. Do you feel like this role is a love letter to those kind of men?
I do, 1000%. No one's ever put it like that in all of these interviews that I've done, but I 1000% agree with that. I've been very fortunate. Like I said, I've had a lot of these figures in my life, but Yeah, man, I do think that it is a love letter to that sort of love, that sort of rock or anchor in a family, and that sort of, again, to bring it back to that type of masculinity that, you know, a lot of these Black families had and need, you know, an
Yeah.
anchor.
Yeah, an anchor indeed. Well, in our remaining minutes with you, I have some rapid fire fun questions.
Let's do it.
So, favorite Michael song of all time? No thinking.
Who is it?
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
Yeah.
Jackson 5 era or Thriller era? Pick one.
Thriller.
All right. If Bill Bray had a theme song, what would it be?
Ben. Does it have to be a Michael Jackson song?
It doesn't. It doesn't have to be.
I think I'll Be There. I'm just
Okay.
gonna go with I'll Be There. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. All right. All right. And what's one thing Michael Jackson taught the world that we still need to hear today?
Love and humanity. You know what I mean?
Wow. That is incredible. You are incredible. Thank you for this gift that keeps on giving, the Michael biopic. We will run and not walk to check this out. It is available in theaters everywhere. KeiLyn Durrel Jones, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for playing the character of Bill Bray. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Pleasure.
Take care. All right.
Cheers.
Meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you.